So you're thinking about ending your relationship, but the kids will grow up resenting you if you make the wrong move. So you search all the viral experts on marriage, divorce, and relationship, but you don't stop to ask, am I just becoming a statistic? So let me save you hours of watch time. Here's what they all say.
Today, you're going to learn the best relationship advice that you will ever hear. This is one of the most impactful conversations I have ever had on this podcast.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty.
The one, the only Jay Shetty.
James Sexton is one of the top divorce attorneys in the world.
Dr. Orna Gorelnik is a clinical psychologist, psychoanalyst, and a writer.
The star of the groundbreaking show Couples Therapy. She explores the depths of human relationships and trauma.
The majority of marriages end in divorce. Over 50% end in divorce. And that's just the ones that catastrophically failed. Think about how many people, they're unhappy. They never really become the most authentic version of themselves. They stay together for the kids or because they don't want to give away half their things. Marriage is like the lottery. You're probably not going to win. But if you win, what you win is so fantastic. Why wouldn't you buy a ticket? Why wouldn't you try?
We're self-centered, we're narcissistic in many ways. There's a way in which our worldview is limited by being, especially the way we're raised.
A lot of relationship advice that people get and people give, it's coming from a psychology background. It's coming from a hypothetical, theoretical background. And again, it has tremendous value. But it's not like in the trenches, and it's not this really raw, candid version, because I think people lie to their therapists all the time.
We say this is the person that we want to love forever, but they end up becoming the person we judge forever.
Yeah.
And they become the person that we criticize forever, and they become the person that we complain about forever. And the person you said you wanted to love forever becomes the person who actually gets the least loving part of you.
Yes.
Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And you just admitted that this relationship isn't working for you. And then you admitted this relationship isn't going to change. So you have your answer. There's only two options: leave or continue to feel alone and disconnected in an unfulfilling relationship.
Like, I'm divorced. My ex-wife is one of my favorite people. She's amazing. I love her very much. There are a lot of people I love that I wouldn't want to be married to. Actually, all of them. All of them, right? I'm a really good ex-husband. I'm a really good father. I'm not a great husband. Like, I don't have the patience. I don't have some of the skills that I think are really good in a husband.
I think it's very different in Western versus other cultures, but we're raised with such a focus on the self. I mean, there's a certain kind of narcissism built into our culture that makes it harder for us to be in deep relationships.
Like, we put marriage in this weird category, and it's just really another relationship.
It is.
I often use the analogy of dogs because I love dogs. I personally don't understand why people sleep in the same bed. Just for me, I just don't get it. Like, 2 adults and 2 dogs, it's a lot in a bed. We need to normalize prenups. We need to normalize what a civil divorce can look like, what a cooperative co-parenting relationship can look like.
We're selfish, and we're not even selfish, we're self-centered. But I do believe in the goodness of people. We ultimately want what's good for our partner.
Yeah, it's just that we want what's good for our partner, but maybe we don't know what's good for them.
Yeah.
Right? And we often think we know what's good for our partner or right for our partner.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes our greatest mistake.
Yeah.
All that matters is the two of you coming up with rules that make sense for you. Who cares how many times a week I have sex? How many times a week do the two of you feel satisfied with having sex? If it's good enough for the two of you, no one else's business.
I think one where both people don't expect the other person to value what they value, but they allow the other person to have their values and they have their own.
Mm-hmm.
And both people respect each other's values, but they don't want the other person to believe as strongly about theirs as they do the others.
Yeah.
Because I just think that that's pretty difficult if you're honest.
Yeah.
It's easy if you're living at a surface level and a superficial level to be like, oh, we both value family. And it's like, well, you don't really. Like, maybe it's second on your list, but first on your list is your career. Let's just be honest. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's be honest about it. And hey, it's not really family, it's specifically your kids. It's not the whole family. So let's get really honest about that. And then we may realize we have different values. That doesn't break our relationship because I respect and we know where we stand. So I think that's a sign of a healthy relationship.
And Terry Real has a great quote where he says, are enough of your needs being met to grieve the ones that aren't? What a great question when we're assessing whether to stay or go. Are enough of your needs being met to grieve the ones that aren't?
What is the best relationship advice you've ever heard or received?
Stay in your own lane.
The best relationship.
best.
Why? How does that, tell me.
It means don't intrude on someone else's journey. Like stay in your own lane, do the thing you're supposed to do, and live and let live.
Yeah.
That's the best way to create a good environment for a relationship.
I would say a healthy relationship is one where you don't depend on the other person for everything.
Yeah.
Like at the end of your life, if you could look at another person and say, you helped me become the most authentic version of myself, and you're still my favorite person. That's the greatest wedding toast you could ever have. Like that's the greatest blessing you could have in your life. And I think it'd be the greatest asset you could have in your life. But having represented cops, teachers, firefighters, CEOs, elite athletes, celebrities, we are all equally terrible at this.
Pay attention closely, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Everyone will tell you some version of you tried everything. Your spouse isn't trying at all, or maybe they are trying, but nothing's changing. So they're never going to change. And all the viral experts are right. So we thought. Until we realized we were the spouses that weren't changing. We were the spouses that weren't trying hard enough. I was the abusive cheater, the liar, the narcissist, the workaholic, the one addicted to drugs, alcohol, porn, gambling, you name it. Go and watch our short videos. You'll see how bad I was. And because we learned the same information about trauma bonds, gaslighting, narcissists, and healing the inner child from experts, we both became convinced that neither of us were going to change as well. Until we learned that we could. So before you think that you're ready to end the relationship, I want you to ask yourself one question. Have you actually tried everything? Or have you only tried everything that you've been shown by the industry? Because those are two completely different things. My name is Maddox Vick, entrepreneur and life coach. But most importantly, we are you. Married in our early 30s into a blended family with 6 children, from babies to adults. Now on paper, we were successful, just like you. But behind closed doors, you're probably falling into the same statistic we were. You're considering divorce and leaving. We signed divorce papers too. But you don't want to be a statistic, and neither did we. So we spent 15 years and 250 grand trying to crack the code on fixing our marriage. We aren't licensed professionals, but we are you. The people hiring those top tier professionals, spending the money, the sleepless nights, testing expert theories every day, desperately searching through mediocre guidance for the answers that actually work. And after hiring 5 therapists, many multi-millionaire coaches, and learning from some of the most successful entrepreneurial marriages in the US, we now help couples skip their marriages straight to the top fast. Now you get all the wisdom without any of the scars. So without further ado, let's dive in. So how do you know when it's time to end a relationship? Well, according to the viral experts we saw, they all have a different response. Now I love those guys. I think that they're great people and their hearts are in the right place. But we only know what we know, right? That means whatever we don't know, our brains don't even know to go and look for those answers. So 100 grand into this journey, I started asking the question, how can we have this much advice, this many experts in books, and this many viral videos, yet we're still feeling like marriages are failing? That's when we realized that the problem wasn't that nobody had answers. The problem was that almost everyone was teaching the same thing. When I studied the most viral advice, I noticed that beneath the different language, most of it pointed back to the same central idea. Be your authentic self. Find your truth. Protect your peace. Do what feels right for you. Then negotiate and compromise a set of boundaries so your spouse's authentic self can coexist with your authentic self. That's the model. And if that model is complete, then the experts are right. Maybe you should leave. If your authentic self and your spouse's authentic self can no longer coexist. But what if that model is incomplete? What if the authentic self model is the reason you're considering leaving in the first place? Because once you see that, you'll recognize it in all of their teachings. Did you know that in the early 1900s, we had a 5% divorce rate? 5%. That's next to 0 in my grandma's generation. And every generation before then was less than 5%. But how did we go from a 5% divorce rate to a 50% divorce rate in less than 1 lifetime? Think about that. Connect those dots, and then you'll have the power to decide whether or not you want to be a statistic as well. You see, Sigmund Freud developed psychoanalysis in the 1890s. By the early 1900s, psychology became its own academic discipline, this studying of the self. By 1950, that generation went from a 5% divorce rate to a 25% divorce rate, the highest in human history ever. The phrase authentic self exploded through humanistic psychology with leaders like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, popularizing self-actualization. The self. By the 1980s, be your authentic self became mainstream in self-help, all the corporations and their leadership trainings, in therapy and society. And also in the 1980s, the kids born in the 50s became adults, and they doubled the failure, hitting a 50% divorce rate. Phrases like live your truth and speak your truth became common in therapy, self-help, and in television. By the 2010s, expressions like my truth and your truth became widespread through social media and celebrity culture, and that's what everyone eats up today. Now, I want you to see this perspective because the most viral relationship advice out there is teaching you how to operate this same self-focused model packaged up in different ways. Different experts, different language, same model and divorce rates. But you can't recognize the low standard when it's all you've ever known. Think about that. I couldn't either. And a cage doesn't look like a cage when we've lived in it our whole lives. Let me ask you, what's the fastest way from point A to point B? A straight line. But in business, we all do this, or this to try to get to the same destination. Picture a scale with 4 levels of relationship standards: 30%, 50%, 75%, and 100% standards. Now, we won't dive too much into this scale, but if you want to learn more about it, you can comment the word scale and we'll send you a free guide. But for now, think of these percentages as levels of unity, skill, intimacy, and fulfillment inside of a relationship. So we all start down here at point A, and a couple at 30% standards may love each other, but they have almost no relationship skills. They say things like, I don't need you, I can make it on my own. So they're quick to leave each other and then start over with someone new, simply repeating the same cycle. That was me. 2 kids with 2 different women before I met my beautiful wife, Stephanie. Now, a couple at the 50% standard, they want to stay together, but they don't know how to stay together. So they try really, really hard with the little skills that they know, barely making any progress. And this is why the divorce rate sits right around 50%. Now, this couple at the 75% standard may look successful on paper. They've learned some communication, compromise, date nights, and happy wife, happy life techniques. But these are just management skills, coping skills to manage the different authentic selves in the relationship. Maybe they survive an affair or another major trauma, and they drop down into the 50%. And maybe over the years, they slowly rebuild back up to 75%. Maybe they stay married for 20 years thinking that this is just what marriage is: stale, boring, sexless. But we've observed that age, time, and experience doesn't always translate into expertise. Most couples don't have 20 years of growth and happiness. The majority of them have 1 mediocre year repeated 20 times over. Here's the point. Every couple that you know is following their own authentic self. They're doing what they like, what they want, and what they believe will fulfill them, then trying to compromise enough overlap with their spouse to keep the relationship alive. This is what the industry teaches what a good marriage looks like, this 75% standard. But we've observed that when couples stay in their own lanes, the teamwork and intimacy levels plateau. They flatline at a certain level, and that's what you're experiencing today. But as you saw in the beginning of this video, all your movies, television, degrees, textbooks, pop culture, and experts will teach you this standard to strive for. And we only know what we know, right? So the experts have no idea that there's another level above them. So their brains don't even know to go and look for these answers. Hey, no judgment here. We hit the same ceiling as they did. And that's the real tragedy. Because if you've only ever seen a 75% marriage, you'll spend your entire life believing that mediocrity is the best that marriage can get, and that you've tried everything. And that's when I realized, as Jane Sexton said, we're all equally lost together. And that's the deception.
What's really going on here inside of me? Because I'm in here. Like, this is what's amazing to me about marriage is I feel like after 53 years of walking around on this planet and 20 in therapy, I get myself like 75%, okay? And I'm in here. Like, I'm in here. And I get about saying, what hope do I have of understanding 100% of the person sitting across the table from me or laying in the bed next to me? I'm in here. And I get 75% of it. And I'm gonna get mad at myself because I don't understand this person 100% and get them what they need 100%. I don't get me what I need 100% of the time. I don't get me what I need 50% of the time. I screw it up constantly and then go, why did you do that to yourself? So give ourselves and each other some grace and just realize that, listen, this is just about understanding ourselves, what we need, what we want, this person helping them understand what they need, what they want, and then figuring out how to do that dance.
Question for you. Do you want a good marriage or do you want a great marriage? Because the experts kept telling us to rekindle the love we had during the honeymoon stage. That didn't make sense to us. We were different people then, younger and less mature. And I didn't want to go backwards. I wanted more out of our marriage. How do I get more, not the same? So I asked myself, before psychology became obsessed with the self and our divorce rate skyrocketed 50, 60, 70%, where did the people learn about marriage? Philosophy, religion, the universe, the Bible? I decided to find out, and what we found was an entire blueprint for marriage that had nothing to do with protecting myself or finding my own truth. It was built around becoming one flesh, one team, one mission with your spouse. That's what we wanted, the special forces level of marriage. So we spent the next several years and another $100,000 testing whether this blueprint could push through the 75% ceiling that we had. And it did. All the things that we thought would never change about each other, the lying, the cheating, the disrespect, the resentment, the bad habits, those layers started peeling away when we committed to this. As crazy as that sounds, it worked. Watch this. Just like in business, the fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. And the Bible gave us a straight line to experience the 100% deepest love, sex, intimacy, and teamwork levels that the experts don't even know exist. Yet for 3 generations now, most of us keep trial and erroring mediocre textbook theories trying to reinvent our own authentic marriages. And let's be honest, our children are watching us fail miserably at this. Now, it took us years to crack this code because we had no one to accelerate our learning curve. But today, we started taking all these couples who felt trapped for years. We'd show them how to recognize the lower percenter traps and then skip their marriages straight to the top. And they themselves would start building their own 100% standard marriages immediately. And 90% of the couples that we work with begin breaking free from those lower cycles within the first couple weeks. Some people believed in the Bible, some didn't. Now, you may or may not believe in God or Jesus, and that's up to you. But don't make the mistake of assuming that because you don't believe the Bible is real, the 100% standard isn't real either. Both beliefs can exist at the same time. You can reject the source and still test the standard to see if it works for you. We have watched couples who were like us, ready for divorce, convinced that their spouses would never change, say to us, man, she's never done that before in our marriage. I never knew I could change the ways that I have. And thank you. Within weeks, they tell us that, not months or years apart. They say this within the next 2 to 6 weeks, once we've shown them the 100% standard. So how do you know when it's time to end a relationship? When you can walk away with your head held high and honestly say, I tried everything. Not I tried really hard. Not we tried a couple professionals and it still didn't work, but honestly, everything. Can you look your children in the eyes and say, I don't want you to be a statistic either. So I didn't quit on this family until I understood every option available to us. Can you say to the kids, the reason they're growing up without both parents is because you found the highest standard, you tried it, tested it, and it still didn't work. Because if you've only tried 10 different versions of being your own authentic self, then you haven't tried everything. You've tried everything the industry showed you. And that's not fair to you, your children, or the family that you've built over the years. So I want to give you hope that things can change this month. You can change. Your spouse can change. The environments at home can change. You can get rid of all the garbage and build up new this week. Because we believe that there's no marriage too far gone when you choose the 100% standard. And if you're wondering whether or not you can experience this 100% deepest love, sex, intimacy, and teamwork in the next 2 to 6 weeks, comment the word scale and we'll send you our free marriage standards guide so that way you can learn where your relationship currently ranks on the scale and what the 100% standard actually looks like. You don't need your spouse to do this. Many people transform their marriages by themselves, but I've seen some of the most stubborn, combative spouses become open to change once they finally learned how to recognize this ceiling. I've seen couples get divorced and come back together when they recognize the ceiling because no one wants to be stuck in misery. But a trapped person doesn't know that they're trapped. I didn't. I was convinced Stephanie was the problem. So I want you to have hope because I was far worse than your spouse. Go watch our shorts and our reels and see for yourself. We're praying for your marriage and we're rooting for your family. I love you, and we'll see you on the next video.